guys, Jackie Sloman here, founder of the Roman Protocol and Nutrition on the Mat, where we show wrestlers how to maximize their performance, gain a competitive edge, and make weight without aggressive cutting techniques, even if they have 5 or 10 pounds to lose. So thanks so much for joining me in this video. And today, what I actually want to talk to you about is how your wrestler can maintain their weight when they're not currently actively training or competing, right? So this happens year-round. It's a cyclical process. So whether it's just currently your off season, whether your wrestler unfortunately had an injury that has them sidelined, whether they're sick, whether there's something that's going on that's either keeping them in the house, where their practice is canceled for a prolonged period of time, whatever that reason is, we want to show you guys the easiest and the best way possible to help your wrestler maintain their weight, right? So what typically happens when wrestlers are in this scenario is they continue eating at the same level that they would have if they were active, if they were getting that extra 500 or 1,000 calories worth of activity in every single day. And when they're not, obviously, you know as well as I do that their weight tends to go up and up and up and up. And then what happens is you guys get in some hot water, right? So whether you're just kind of diving into the next sports season, if you are a multi-sport athlete, or whether you're just starting to get ready for the wrestling season to ramp back up again, and now you're sitting somewhere 5, 10, 20 pounds even occasionally above what the scratch weight is that you need to be at. So the purpose of this video is to show you guys how you can maintain your weight year-round, regardless of what that situation is, so that you don't have to run into that issue. You don't have to panic at the last second and try to get all of that weight off, and just to help you maintain your weight and your activity year-round. Okay, so kind of the first thing that we want to talk about, and what is going to be really important, is in order to keep your weight down but keep your body composition the same. So what does that mean? That means even though we don't want our wrestlers to gain weight, we want to make sure that they are maintaining their muscle mass, they're maintaining their strength, right? Because if we don't eat to fuel our muscles, then we will start losing that strength, and we don't want to start losing those gains. So the first thing that we do want to focus on is we want to keep our protein intake relatively stable, even if we're not training. So I do have another video that I'll link to below that explains exactly how to calculate your wrestler's protein needs depending on what their situation is, whether they're working on building muscle mass, whether they're maintaining. I'll link to that below. But assuming that you know what that number is already, we want to keep our protein intake constant while we're reducing our calories. So in order to do that, we are going to have to cut down a little bit on our carbohydrates and our fat content. And I know what you're thinking, Jackie, you always preach to us we need carbohydrates in our diet. You're totally right. But in this case, because you're not training, because you're not going to practice, because you're not competing, we don't need as many carbohydrates, because we're not trying to fuel our bodies now through those intense workouts, through enhancing our recovery. We're just maintaining what we've already got. So that's kind of the first thing that we want to focus on. The second thing that we want to focus on is, and I already hinted at this, we want to reduce our calories, but we want to do it in a really strategic way. And what I mean by that is we want to reduce our calories to the exact level that we would need them to be if we weren't training, if we weren't competing. So whatever level that you're at now, we want to hit that exactly. So how do we figure out what that is? Because I'm sure it just sounds like I'm speaking another language right now, right? So in order to figure that out, you probably are going to need a rough idea of how many calories your wrestler burns per hour in a standard practice, in a standard training session, so we can figure out how many to subtract on a daily basis. Now, the tricky part is that number is, in truth, it's going to be totally individualized. It's going to depend on your coach. It's going to depend on the type of training sessions you're doing, you know, whether they are predominantly cardio-based with doing sprints, calisthenic work, running, things of that nature, typically burn a much higher amount of calories than a practice or a training regimen that is, for example, technique work, or that incorporates mindset training or live mat time, but you're alternating, so you're not actually practicing the entire time, right? But as a good rule of thumb, to give you a starting point, if you don't know what those numbers are, typically an hour practice is going to be somewhere between 300 to 500 calories. Now, obviously, in the Roman protocol, we go over exactly how to calculate that number to the T. So you know whether your wrestler is in the 300 range, they're in the 500 range. I've had some people be in the 800 or 900 range, depending on if they're doing 2-hour practices, 2-a-days, whatever that looks like. But as at least a starting point, let's put us in the 300 to 500 range for now, okay? So what we want to do from there is however many calories your wrestler typically eats, we want to subtract that 300 to 500 from that. Now, if you're not someone that tracks your calories, if you're not someone that tracks your serving sizes, now we're going to run into the next issue, right? Because, all right, we've got a number, but what does that mean? How do we translate that to real life? That's what I always say when someone says, oh yeah, just eat 300 calories less. Before I was in school for nutrition, I'm like, what the heck does that mean? So I'm going to show you guys a simple and easy way to do this. And it's going to get you 70 to 80% of the way of where you want to be, but without feeling like you have to pull your hair out, right? So for you guys, just as a starting point, a really simple way to do this is to just simply swap out high calorie foods for lower calorie counterparts. So what do I mean by that? So a really easy way to do this is, just as an example, things like milk products. So if you drink whole milk, if you have yogurt, if you have cheese in your diet, swapping to low fat counterparts. I know it sounds silly, but these are things that we can do where you don't have to dramatically reduce the serving sizes of what you're eating. Your wrestler doesn't have to feel like they're weight cutting again, where their lunch is like half a turkey sandwich with 1 slice of turkey and some grapes. If we can just make swaps to lower calorie foods that you can still have the same amount of serving size of, it's not going to feel like you're kind of quote unquote dieting, but you're still lowering your calorie intake for the day. So highly recommend that. I'm going to leave a list of swaps that you can do below that are really simple, that you're probably not even going to notice, your wrestler is not even going to notice, but it's going to get you partway to your goal. The second thing that we want to focus on when we are strategically trying to reduce those calories is we want to choose foods that fit into 2 categories. So I'm going to say what they are, and then I'm going to explain it. So we want things that are nutrient dense. So that means they pack a lot of vitamins, a lot of minerals, water, fiber, all that good stuff that's going to keep us full. There's a lot of that in each serving. And the second thing is that nutrient dense foods tend to be really low in calories as well. So that sounds awesome, right? There's things that are going to keep us healthy, they're going to keep us full, but they're not going to make us gain a lot of weight. So you guys already probably guessed it, but nutrient dense foods are things like vegetables. So whether that is packing carrot sticks or celery sticks, or having a side salad with your lunch, whether it's just incorporating more fruits and vegetables with your meals, swapping out pasta for something like zucchini pasta or carrot spirals, or switching out rice with cauliflower rice. If your wrestler is someone that isn't a huge vegetable person, I always say start with half and half. If you're doing spaghetti, do half regular spaghetti, half zucchini noodles, or half butternut squash, whatever you're making. Same thing with the rice. If they're not used to cauliflower rice, do half cauliflower, half regular. Get their taste buds used to it. And once they are, you can make that full swap. So again, these are foods that they're going to help keep us full. They're going to help keep us satiated. And it's just a really easy way to help reduce those calories overall. Okay. And the last thing that we want to focus on is really simple, actually, and that is if you are someone that strategically includes a pre and a post-workout meal every time that you train. Really simple. We just want to stop that, right? So in the Roman protocol, we have tons of modules dedicated just to pre and post-workout and how to optimize that fuel so that you can compete better, you can train harder, you can build more muscle, and you can recover quicker, right? But the purpose of those foods are to keep you energized and at 100% while you're doing that vigorous activity. So obviously, if you're not working out, we just don't need those. Again, it sounds really basic, but these are really simple things that we can do where your wrestler's not going to feel deprived. They're not going to feel as hungry if you skip these things because they're not burning that fuel source. And it's just going to bring them one step closer to being able to maintain their weight. So like I said, whatever's going on, whether it is an injury, whether you're just out for the season for whatever reason, whether it's the off season and you're just relaxing a little more, whatever, if you're sick and you're going to be housebound for a few weeks, definitely implement. I would recommend implementing all of these, but if it seems overwhelming at first, just start with a few. Swap out your full fat products for low fat, include more nutrient dense foods in your meals, skip the pre and post workout. Whatever it is, even incorporating just one of these is going to get you a lot closer to your goals. It's going to help you maintain your strength if you're keeping up that protein intake, and it's just going to put you in a much better and strategic position for when you do start competing again. So that's pretty much all I've got for you guys. If you found this helpful, drop a like or a comment below. If you have any questions, I am always happy to hear from you. Definitely subscribe to our videos, check out our other content. If you haven't already, we have a full free training on the Roman protocol where we go over exactly what we do to get our wrestlers to have that competitive edge, how to make their weight without aggressive cutting techniques, and how to do it while eating and drinking more. All right, guys, so I will see you in the next video, and I hope you guys have a good day. All right, bye.